What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market and talk about some important levels to watch for on Tesla, SPY, NVIDIA, the QQQ, Aapl, and many other tickers out there. I'm going to talk about why tomorrow is going to be another big day for the markets as we have PPI coming out. We have some important IPOs and some important data to watch for that's going to cause more volatility. But before I do anything like this, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends very soon. It ends in just about one day. It ends tomorrow, so check it out before they run out. Anyways, let's break down what's going on with the market. So looking at SPY, this thing was just testing the 447.5 resistance, and we're starting to see it get rejected a bit. However, it's not looking bad whatsoever as we're still in a bullish crossover point on the PPO, and we're still above our EMA for now. Now, in the morning, I warned everyone that we had these important EMAs. If we broke below the 200, we turn a lot more bearish. If we manage to hold it and break above our 50, this range right about here, this 446.75 area, this thing would likely start pushing into the 447s and get a nice push up. So it ended up breaking to the upside overall. We got a little pop in the morning, we dropped, then pushed up, and we're still trying to hold up as of right now. But we got hit with the resistance at 447.5, and now SPY is trying to trade a little bit more sideways as of right now. Now, looking at the way it's looking, not looking bad so far, but I just want to warn everyone that with CPI, this was actually a decent report, and we got very fortunate to get it. It wasn't too bad whatsoever. It was a little bit hotter than expected on the core side, and also a little bit hotter, and that's for core month over month. Core year over year was okay. It was as expected, but year over year for CPI for all items, that was a little bit hot, just a tiny bit. But despite that, the articles were saying that the Fed would likely not raise rates because of this. The Fed would likely not adjust their policies much, and the market was happy to have heard that. So that's why the market is still holding up. There wasn't really much of a negative reaction, and we're still continuing to watch SPY test that 447.5 area. So anyways, now let's break down what's going on with something else. As the market is trying to hold up, I just want to remind you all that we also have ARM or ARM. It has its IPO tomorrow. So if you're interested in playing this, buying some shares or doing anything like this, this is very good for the AI stocks out there. Anyone that's interested in them, that's going to be very interesting to watch for. Finally, the last thing I just want to mention before I talk about the charts, I forgot to mention this, is tomorrow we have PPI coming out. So this is the Producer Price Index. This is similar to CPI. Now, this tends to be a leading indicator for CPI, which means that if this is hot, right, tomorrow, this would suggest that the next CPI that comes out may be a little hot as well. If this is as expected, that tells us that the next CPI may be pretty decent as well, too. So that's going to be very telling for the market. Don't forget that PPI tends to be a leading indicator for CPI. This is like a CPI except from the producer side. We'll see what happens with inflationary numbers for the month of August. This is going to be important, so be on the lookout for this 1 hour before the market opens. If you want to hold your positions overnight through it, you could if you want. If you're worried and you think that it's a little too risky for you, then you could just exit your positions in terms of like your options and etc., and then just wait for the data to come out. That's what I'm personally doing. I'm actually not going to hold much overnight. I'm just going to wait for how the PPI looks. Now, as a reminder, I'm still holding on to shares for the long term. That's just my options portfolios, my accounts on equities and things like that. Anyways, going back to what's going on with the market, if you look at SPY, it's becoming very choppy, starting to trade sideways around this area. It's very flat now. It's been just like going back and forth, kind of range trading for the last couple of hours. And it's going to likely just continue on this trend. I know it's very boring to witness, but that is what is likely going on. Now, I just want to remind everyone that there is one thing that you should be prepared for, because Aapl is not looking the best. Apple's a little bit red. And then you have to look out at the chart and notice that we have this potential head and shoulders developing on it, which could be suggesting more downside may be coming to Aapl. And if Aapl does drop another 1 to 2% because of this head and shoulders, this could lead to some downside for the whole market. This could slow the market down a little bit. Now, am I saying it will happen? Am I saying Aapl has to drop tomorrow? Not necessarily. It depends on PPI and other pieces of news. I think we also have like initial jobless claims and etc. But this is just something that could slow the market down a bit over the next couple of days in case Apple does end up tanking. Be very careful because of that, and this could have a negative effect on SPY and the QQQ. Now, so far, Apple is still trying to hold up around 175, and SPY is not necessarily getting dragged down. SPY's showing some strength, trying to hold up, but it's just trying to range trade at this high resistance area. For tomorrow, if we get a decent PPI, and I will talk specifically about the numbers, there is still a possibility of SPY pushing towards the 450 area. If we get a bad PPI report and the data is not good, then we're going to see this thing sink towards the 200 EMA and start breaking below 444. It's going to likely be a bigger move than this, in my opinion, so we'll just have to wait and see for tomorrow. I just want to warn you all, if you want to hold anything overnight, that is your choice, but there are risks involved. For Tesla, it's still trying to hold up. It was looking weaker earlier, but now it's just trading flat. Hasn't really done anything too crazy if you actually look at how it was moving. It's just getting tighter and tighter. It's just stuck in this range between 275 and about 268. Been going back and forth, not really doing anything. So we're going to be watching for tomorrow to see what happens with PPI. Could that cause Tesla to push towards 275? Yes. Or it could cause Tesla to break all the way down to 266 and maybe even below that. So we just have to wait and see for tomorrow. As of right now, it's just very boring, very sideways, and that's likely going to continue for the rest of the day. For the QQQ, it's the same thing. Just trading kind of sideways in this 375 zone, going back and forth and back and forth. There's a slight uptrend, but it's forming a bearish divergence. So this could cause it to like gap down tomorrow just a little bit, then start pushing up again. It could just continue to remain sideways though, nonetheless. And we're going to be watching to see what happens tomorrow. For tomorrow, if we get a decent PPI, we could see it push towards 378. If PPI is a little hot, we could tank towards 372 or even below that. We'll be watching that tomorrow just to see how it goes. For NVIDIA is looking quite good. NVIDIA finally got a bounce with the overall market. And you can't forget that ARM is another AI stock that's announcing its IPO. So that's leading to lots of hype for the overall sector. Now, look at NVIDIA. We mentioned that there was a bullish divergence, but at the time I was recording it, it was looking kind of weak. So we finally are starting to see the bullish divergence play out. And we're going to be watching this 460 resistance. If it breaks that, there's 462 and 465 above that. As of right now, it looks like it's just trading sideways, not really doing anything too crazy. It's kind of range bound. So I think it's just going to trade very close to this like 460 area. Just go back and forth for the rest of the day. Then we're going to be watching the reaction after PPI and also ARM. With ARM potentially announcing and coming out with its IPO with lots of dip buyers and potential AI hype coming back, there's a good chance NVIDIA could make an attempt to push higher. But don't forget there's another factor, and that's going to be PPI and how the whole market reacts to it. But as of right now, NVIDIA is starting to show strength, starting to show signs of a shift in its market structure. Watch for it to potentially make an attempt to push higher. But we need to see it hold above 460, so there's potential for it now with all the hype coming out. With that said, looking at the VIX, I just want to mention that the VIX is starting to tank. And this is actually a good sign for the bulls because the VIX has not fully filled its gap. So this is now making me think that the market may try to push a little bit higher for longer, because if the VIX keeps dropping to fill this gap, this could be because of the market pushing higher, because of SPY, SPX, ES futures, and etc., all pushing up a lot higher, which is dragging other stocks up. So this is making me think there might be upside coming for tomorrow again with a decent PPI. My only concern and warning for like the medium term though, for the next like week or so, would be Aapl. If Aapl ends up dropping, it may take a little bit longer, but it could still happen by like Friday or going into next week to slow the markets down. Let's see how Aapl reacts, and let's just be very patient. Amazon is looking bullish. Amazon's continuing to break out. If it breaks 145, we could see this thing pushing towards 146.5 as the next resistance. Looking pretty good so far. With that said, there is potential for upside for tomorrow looking at the VIX, but I'm always going to be open-minded. We're just going to wait and see what happens with PPI. That is my warning for everyone. If you want to hold overnight through this, you could do that at your own risk, but just be prepared in case something happens with PPI. You never know. So I really like to avoid gambling and taking too much risk. So that's just my opinion, not financial advice. Do whatever you guys want to do. And just know that so far the market's holding up quite decently, at least most stocks out there, with the exception being like Aapl. All right. Thank you. Have a great day. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Market to the moon, and peace out.